Hi everyone, good evening. So I'm joining you again for the 10 weeks of Yuktahar project, and we have been discussing fermented food for the last 3 sessions, and today is the last and the wrap-up session on fermented foods. We are on the 4th part for fermented foods. So what is the topic for today? It is probiotics. I have been mentioning about it in the last 3 sessions. So it is probiotics today, the final session or the final part for the fermented foods. So what are probiotics? A lot of myth exists for probiotics कि वो exactly क्या है, किसको probiotics बोलते हैं. Are all fermented foods probiotics? Which means कि जितने भी fermented foods हैं, क्या इनको सही है probiotics बताना? The answer is no. I have written at length. I have spent some at least 4 to 5 pages discussing probiotics in my book, Yuktahar, the Belly Brain Diet. So of course, for a much detailed explanation, please go and read the book. But today I'm just going to give you in brief so that you have an idea of what exactly probiotics are. Number 2, do you really need them? Number 3, if you do need them, then what is the correct way of picking them up from the market? So number 1 is कि probiotics जो हैं, क्या सारे fermented foods probiotics हैं? इडली, डोसा, दही, गुलकंद, आचार? No, none of these are probiotics. Then again, are all the actual true probiotics, are all of them in the form of fermented foods? No again. So probiotics largely come in fermented forms, but not all probiotics. I'm talking about true probiotics. Not all probiotics will necessarily come in the form of a fermented food. So अगर आप लोग सोच रहे हैं कि यार इतना कॉम्प्लिकेट कर दिया, पहले ही हम कंफ्यूज थे, so don't worry, I'm just going to unveil the facts one by one. Again, there are many people who come out and say, like experts who come out and say that probiotics वो friendly bacteria हैं that live inside us, the trillions of microbes that live inside us, they are actually probiotics. So that is also wrong. I have repeated this in many sessions, of course, in many places in my book also I have mentioned that the trillions of microbes जो हमारे gut में already रहते हैं permanently, they are actually called our ancestral native indigenous microbiome, and ये probiotics नहीं हैं. ये हमें कैसे मिला है? हमें ये हमारा परमानेंट इकोसिस्टम हमें थ्रू बर्थ मिला है, हमारे मदर के थ्रू, उनको उनके मदर के थ्रू. सो दिस इज समथिंग दैट इज एक्चुअली पास्ड ऑन फ्रॉम जनरेशन टू जनरेशन. एंड द अदर वे ऑफ कलेक्टिंग आवर नेटिव माइक्रोबायोम इज ऑफ कोर्स थ्रू breastfeeding. And I want to speak few lines about breastfeeding because the expert who is joining me tomorrow for the Friday experts talk is a lactation consultant, and before we do that session tomorrow, I want to just spend few minutes discussing why it is important to know somebody who exists, like a lactation consultant who exists, because most of the time even women who live in urban cities, women who are so educated, they are not aware that we have somebody called a lactation consultant in our society who can help us. So number 1, your breast milk is actually a symbiotic meal. What is a symbiotic meal? It's something जो मैंने discuss किया था 2 दिन पहले. Symbiotic meal is a meal जिसमें live microbes भी हैं और जिनमें prebiotics भी हैं, मतलब उन microbes का खाना भी है साथ में. So food for the microbes is also there, and the microbes are obviously there. So in your breast milk, what you get are live microbes, and you also get these prebiotic sugars in the breast milk, which makes it a complete nature's gifted, God-gifted symbiotic meal. And no matter how much great formula milk we make, there are many formula milk nowadays that comes with added prebiotics and etc. written on the label, but trust me, none of them can become as functional and as great a immunity booster or whatever you want to call it. They cannot even come close to the natural breast milk of a mother. A lot of women I know who work, which is great. I'm not talking against that, but there are times when women then pump the breast milk, put it in a bottle, and then feed the child with the bottle. Of course, if that is what is working for you, you got to do that, of course, because you live in a real world where you have to kind of connect the dots and make things happen. But just नो दैट कि आप जब अपने डायरेक्ट ब्रेस्ट पे नर्स करते हैं अपने चाइल्ड को, द चाइल्ड गेट्स दिस स्किन टू स्किन कॉन्टैक्ट विद द मदर विच एक्चुअली एनहांसेस द चाइल्ड्स माइक्रोबायोम. This microbiome is actually the ancestral microbiome, the indigenous microbiome that is going to stay with the child forever till the time the child is living. And therefore it is important to actually nurse the child at the breast compared to, you know, putting the breast milk in a bottle and then feeding the child. Of course, if you are pumping your breast milk, putting it in a bottle and feeding the child, it's much better than the formula milk that you would have otherwise given. So of course, if we talk about comparisons, I will say it's still better to feed the child using a bottle but feed your milk compared to a formula feed. But if you do have opportunities where you can actually spend a lot of time feeding the child at your breastfeeding, direct breastfeeding is what they call it, then ensure that you do it most of the times. The expert who is joining us tomorrow, why does she become important? She becomes important because many a times women have a desire, mothers have the desire to feed their child, but they are unable to do so because probably they are not aware of the proper latching techniques, the proper breastfeeding techniques. The people around most of the time aren't too helpful for the new mothers, and they're almost clueless, especially if it's the first child. So in all those scenarios, a lactation consultant can really help you ensure that if you really will to breastfeed your child for a long time, they can ensure they teach you the right techniques, they can tell you where things are going wrong, and so on and so forth. Of course, there are many scenarios where mothers are not able to feed the child because of, say, certain kind of disease is there, or certain kind of seriousness is there, because of which the mother is not able to feed the child at all. So even for them, we have breast milk banks. At least I know in few good cities like metro cities, there are breast milk banks where you can, go and get this breast milk and then feed your child. Of course, it will be through a bottle, but as I said, much better than the formula milk. So think about all the plus and minus and then take the decision. I could go on and make this a topic on breast milk and breastfeeding, but I don't want to do that. I just wanted to give a little, a few lines about why a lactation consultant is important and why should you hear to her tomorrow, and what is the reason for me inviting her, because I feel it is not only for mothers, it is not only for women, but it is also important for the husbands, the father, the in-laws, the parents, everybody in the family to come together and find out the ways in which you can actually feed your child, because ये जो ब्रेस्ट फीडिंग करके आप जब चाइल्ड के माइक्रोबायोम को एनहांस करते हैं फॉर अ लाइफ टाइम, remember that this child is going to transfer the same microbiome to his or her own child. So this is something that will go on from generations. तो आप सिर्फ अपने बच्चे को फीड नहीं कर रहे, you are taking care of posterity, in a longer run. So it's something that has to be taken very, very seriously, and therefore, a lactation consultant is my guest tomorrow. Okay, so now coming back to probiotics. अभी ये जो trillions of microbes जो हमारे gut में already हैं, ये, as we know, is a large pool. It's a large ecosystem. It's compared to the Amazon rainforest by microbiologists and so on and so forth. तो अब ये जो probiotics हैं, ये probiotics जब हम डालते हैं, firstly, what are probiotics? Probiotics are actually supplements. Anything which is homemade is not a probiotic. So probiotics are supplements which can be there in the form of, say, pills or tablets or powders, or say maybe in the form of any functional food like some kind of dairy which has an added probiotic. Nowadays probiotics are being added to chocolates and stuff also. So it can be there in any form. But these are definitely not homemade. The true ones are not the ones which you make at home. So jitna bhi aapka dahi, chas, buttermilk, makhan, jitna bhi fermented foods we discussed in the last 3 sessions, none of these are probiotics. So probiotic supplements हैं, और ये जो supplements हैं, of course they carry a few millions or billions of microbes, the live helpful ones, the healthy ones. But of course if you look at it logically, हमारे body में already एक ecosystem है जिसमें trillions of microbes are already there, a large pool. And then in this large pool, if you're adding just a very small bit of microbes, it's not going to turn things around for you magically. So that is one thing that I want you to understand कि probiotics को लेके बहुत सारे myths हैं. One myth is that ki taking probiotics is going to help me magically do wonder things and all of those, right? So now we need to understand, as I said, probiotic क्या है, supplement है, और supplement का dictionary meaning ही है कि किसी चीज को supplement करना. तो एक foundation होना पड़ेगा for your supplement to actually supplement a foundation. Otherwise, you know, क्या चीज को वो supplement करेगा. So that foundation has to be there, which means कि the 10 weeks of TBBD program, the different phases that we have, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, you take the probiotics only in phase 2. You do not take it in phase 1 because you first need to cleanse your gut, जो हम phase 1 में करते हैं. Until and unless you get a clear place to work, there is absolutely no sense going on popping pills or drinking bottles of probiotics because they might just even, you know, get you bloated and feel very, you know, feel very full and gastric and all those things, in fact, if you do not take them in the right way. So firstly, probiotic is a supplement, which means कि बाकी सारी चीजें करना जरूरी है. Cleansing the gut through the 2 weeks of phase 1, rebuilding your gut microbiome, eating those prebiotic carbs that we have been discussing in phase 2, repairing your gut lining, which again is a part of phase 2. So हर एक चीज को करना है. Don't you think that I won't do anything and I'm just going to have this probiotic and it's going to make things good for me? No, none of these supplements, in fact, not even probiotics, कोई भी supplement आप ले लो. सप्लीमेंट्स का काम होता है किसी चीज को एनहांस करना, सप्लीमेंट करना, विच मीन्स कि ऑलरेडी एक बेस लाइन डाइट, एक बेस लाइन वर्क होना चाहिए. देन ओनली इट कैन डू इट्स magic, it can do its work. So in case of probiotics, what is important is that you have gone through a phase 1, your gut has been cleansed, all the bad bacteria have been removed, and then you come to phase 2 where you actually then seed your gut with probiotics along with eating all the other fermented foods that we have discussed in the last 3 sessions, along with also eating all kinds of you know, prebiotic foods, which are basically lentils, pulses, millets, seeds and fruits and all kinds of seasonal veggies and so on and so forth. So that is the number 1 myth. The number 2 myth is कि बहुत लोगों को लगता है कि जैसे आपने कोई टीवी कमर्शियल में एक प्रोबायोटिक का एड देखा, and then you know, a lot of these clients come to me, so they pick up this probiotic just because a 24-inch waist की लड़की ने उसको एडवर्टाइज किया है टीवी पर, एंड देखने में अच्छा लग रहा है. शी सेज दैट, यू नो, योर गट इज गोइंग टू बी ग्रेट एंड इट्स गोइंग टू बूस्ट इम्यूनिटी, एंड यू नो, शी इज गुड इन योगा ऑल्सो, शी इज डूइंग योगा ऑल्सो, सो यू समहाउ फील दैट, oh, it's a great product to have, and then the entire family is having that probiotic. So this is a very grave mistake. Number 1, प्रोबायोटिक्स स्पेसिफिक होते हैं. प्रोबायोटिक्स ऐसे नहीं होते कि आपने एक प्रोबायोटिक खरीद लिया और उसको पूरा जनता उसको खा रहा है. इट डजंट वर्क लाइक दैट. जस्ट लाइक कि आपका जो डायरिया के लिए आप जो मेडिसिन लेंगे, क्या वही सेम मेडिसिन आप हेडेक के लिए लेंगे? नहीं लेंगे, राइट? सो इन द सेम वे हर एक प्रोबायोटिक का अपना अलग अलग फंक्शन होता है. So there is no one probiotic that can work for you, for your wife, for your in-laws, for your children. सबके लिए एक ही probiotic काम नहीं कर सकता है, and that is a practice that should be stopped immediately, because then it can actually be harmful. So अभी ये कैसे हमें पता चले कि कौन सा probiotic हमें लेना है? So for that, of course, a lot of detail is there in the book. A complete probiotic checklist is what I have given so that you can buy the correct probiotic from the market. But just to brief you on it, basically probiotics जो होते हैं, उनमें 3 नाम होते हैं. One is a genus, one is a species, one is a strain. Okay, so I'll give you an example. जैसे एक बैक्टीरिया है जिसका नाम है Lactobacillus acidophilus LA5. सो ये जो लैक्टोबैसिलस है वे उसका पहला नाम है, जिसको हम बोलते हैं जीनस. एसिडोफिलस उसका सेकंड नेम है, जिसको हम बोलते हैं स्पीशीज. LA5 उसका तीसरा नाम है, जिसको हम बोलते हैं स्ट्रेन. सो लैक्टोबैसिलस एसिडोफिलस LA5, दिस इज द कंप्लीट नेम ऑफ द बैक्टीरिया. ओके, नाउ देयर कैन बी अनदर बैक्टीरिया which can be named as Lactobacillus acidophilus XYZ. So the strain is XYZ. सो नाउ वो जो प्रोबायोटिक है वो एक अलग फंक्शन करेगा, ये एक अलग फंक्शन करेगा, बिकॉज ये जो स्ट्रेन होता है ना, जिसको मैंने स्पेशली सर्कल किया है, ये जो स्ट्रेन होता है ये अलग अलग फंक्शंस प्रोवाइड करता है। लैक्टोबैसिलस एसिडोफिलस सेम हो, पर उसका स्ट्रेन्स चेंज होने के कारण एक स्ट्रेन जो है वो कोलेस्ट्रॉल के लिए अच्छा हो सकता है, पर लैक्टोबैसिलस एसिडोफिलस का दूसरा स्ट्रेन डिप्रेशन के लिए अच्छा हो सकता है, उसका तीसरा स्ट्रेन कुड बी गुड फॉर लिवर हेल्थ एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ, मे बी द फोर्थ स्ट्रेन कैन बी गुड फॉर स्किन। So each strain brings along its own specific benefit, and until and unless आपको पता हो कि मुझे क्या चीज के लिए ये लेना है, मुझे तकलीफ क्या है, मुझे क्या चीज के लिए ये लेना है, what is the therapeutic action that you want from the probiotic, पहले वो एक्शन पता करिए, उसके बाद उस स्ट्रेन को मैच करिए कि ये जो एक्शन मैं चाहती हूँ, the desire that I have, the goal that I have, this goal will be given by which strain, and then go ahead and buy that strain. So which brings me to the point that 90% of the probiotics in the Indian market are not true probiotics, because उनमें ये तीन नाम होते ही नहीं है. So if you go ahead, go to Amazon, go to any chemist, go to any place, any wellness store, farmer store, whatever you call it, and you pick up the bottles or whatever which has probiotics, they sell them as probiotics, you reverse it, आप उसका ingredients देखिए तो आपको दिखेगा कि उसमें सिर्फ genus और species दो ही नाम है, strain है ही नहीं. So it will always be like lactobacillus acidophilus, खत्म, strain is not mentioned. So whenever a probiotic which doesn't have a name, which doesn't have a strain mentioned, you should not buy it, because then you do not know what strain exactly is there. And जैसा मैंने बताया, each strain carries its own particular benefit. Until and unless you know the strain, how are you going to match and buy the probiotic which is good for you? Okay, so it's very the ones which usually get more advertised, the ones which you get more easily available ones, if you see, you will see कि उनमें सिर्फ ये दो ही नाम है. You should not take them for the simple reason is कि या तो वो कंपनी ने अच्छे से उस पर रिसर्च नहीं किया है, या फिर it doesn't even give the benefit that they advertise. They advertise कि वो it will give you this, it will give you that, but if it's going to give us so many things, why is the strain not mentioned? So you should not pick up the bottles, the probiotics which doesn't have the name of the strain on it. And then again it brings me to the fact कि ये जो जैसा मैंने आपको कहा, दही एंड गुलकंद एंड ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स, जो हम पिछले 3 सेशंस में हम बात कर रहे हैं जिन भी फूड्स के बारे में, ये प्रोबायोटिक्स क्यों नहीं है? ये इसी कारण से प्रोबायोटिक्स नहीं है क्योंकि ये सारे होममेड हैं. एंड होममेड फूड्स में क्या होता है, देयर इज नो डिफाइंड स्ट्रेन, देयर इज नो, उनमें सब लाइव माइक्रोब्स है, दैट्स राइट, दे आर ऑल गुड फ्रेंडली लाइव माइक्रोब्स, दैट्स फाइन, but we do not know कि उनमें exactly कौन सा strain है, which means that it is undefined. The microbial content in a dahi will also, in a घर का dahi will also keep changing from house to house. मेरे घर में मेरा जो कल्चर मैंने जिस दूध में डाला, मेरे हाथों में कौन सा उस समय बैक्टीरिया था, टेम्परेचर क्या था, बहुत सारे कारण के वजह से नंबर ऑफ बैक्टीरिया, टाइप ऑफ बैक्टीरिया, सब कुछ चेंज होता है हर घर के दही में. सो ऑल्दो दे ऑल आर गुड सोर्सेज ऑफ लाइव माइक्रोब्स, उन्हें प्रोबायोटिक्स नहीं बता सकते क्योंकि प्रोबायोटिक्स उसी प्रोडक्ट को हम बता सकते हैं जिनमें ये तीनों नाम मेंशन्ड हो. And in curd or any kind of homemade stuff, it is impossible to characterize exactly which strain is there because, as I said, each household has a different, fermented dahi. They will have different numbers, they will have different amounts, they will have different strains of bacteria, and it's completely undefined, so you can't call them probiotics. There is an example which I've mentioned in the book also, which is about Dannon's Activia yogurt. Not that I'm endorsing them or anything, but it was a nice example to explain my point, and therefore I really, persuaded with my editor that let me retain the name, although I don't want to do any brand endorsements. But Dannon Activia yogurt is actually a true probiotic, and that the reason is this कि उसमें जो पहले उन्होंने ट्रेडिशनल दही लिया जो घरों में बनता है जिसमें नेचुरल lactobacillus है, natural bifidobacterium है, so of course it has the natural live bacteria. But उसमें उन्होंने फिर एक specific probiotic bacteria add करते हैं, which is of course because it's a company, it's a brand, so they then add a specific probiotic bacteria जिसमें ये तीनों नाम mentioned है, और जो स्ट्रेन वो स्पेसिफिकली डालते हैं उस पर रिसर्च किया हुआ है कि इतने XYZ अमाउंट में ये बैक्टीरिया जब किसी फूड में जाएगा तो वो स्पेसिफिकली ये बेनिफिट करेगा. सो देयर इज अ स्पेसिफिक अमाउंट of bacteria which has been researched, which has been tested, and which has been shown to give a specific benefit, a specific health benefit, and in only that specific amount, that specific strain is added to the traditional dahi to make the Danone Activia probiotic yogurt. And therefore then that yogurt becomes an actual true probiotic yogurt, and you cannot call just any random ghar ka dahi a probiotic. So this is basically just to give you a brief कि जब भी आपको कोई भी बोलता है कि अरे प्रोबायोटिक ले लो, प्रोबायोटिक खरीद लो, firstly try to understand that it's a supplement. Number 2, try to understand, and the very important point, that you do not fix something that is not broken. So until and unless there is a need to take a probiotic, simply don't take a probiotic because your neighbor is taking it or because your favorite actress is promoting it on TV. जो चीज में प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं है उस चीज को फिक्स करने के लिए मत भागिए. दिस इज समथिंग दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो अंटिल एंड अनलेस it's something that I don't use with 100% of my clients. Maybe I use probiotics as a supplement with only 5 to 10% of my clients. So just to give you a fair idea whether you should be using it or not. So it is that kind of a thing. इसको ऐसे ही randomly नहीं यूज किया जाता है, और इसको तभी यूज किया जाता है जब मुझे पता है कि this client of mine is going to benefit with this particular strain in a specific amount which I know I will find in this particular supplement. So it's almost like having a very good research कि कौन सा सप्लीमेंट आपके कंडीशन में काम करेगा, कितने नंबर ऑफ बैक्टीरिया चाहिए उस कंडीशन को ठीक करने के लिए, एंड सो ऑन सो फोर्थ. सो the idea of doing this session is not to tell you that go ahead and start buying probiotics. Of course, probiotics have been shown to have really great results in a lot of conditions ranging from mental health to physical health. But as I said, they have to be taken in totality when you're doing every other thing along with it. Just taking probiotics is not going to help until and unless आपके कंडीशन पे अच्छा रिसर्च हुआ है एक पर्टिकुलर स्ट्रेन के बारे में, और वही स्ट्रेन आपको मिल रहा है उसी डोसेज में जिस पे रिसर्च हुआ है, स्पेसिफिक अमाउंट, स्पेसिफिक benefits, specific strain. So probiotics is all about a targeted effect. So until and unless you want a targeted effect, you can just simply not take any kind of probiotics. Simply your fermented foods, the two categories जो मैंने discuss किया पिछले 2 दिन में 3 दिन में, simply stick to them. You don't have to bother yourself with probiotics. And if you are a person who feels that you have a certain health condition which can be improved by a probiotic, then know that your condition can be improved by a specific strain. वो strain कौन सा है वो पता करना चाहिए, उसको match करता हुआ probiotic लेना चाहिए. You have to be mindful of the amount of bacteria in it, which is usually expressed in units of CFU, which is colony forming units. So you will have to do all of that research. The best thing is, of course, to go to a probiotic specialist, to people like me or anybody else who know about probiotics, so they can suggest you the correct probiotic that you can have. Also to mention, a few people have sent me messages, emails asking, can I take this probiotic? Can I take that probiotic? So as I said, probiotics are supplements. It is not something that I randomly advise or recommend. So it's something that, I would want to take up only in a one-on-one consultation, because, I know the the complete conditions of the person at that time. So neither should you. As I say, you should not be just taking probiotics on a random advice. Just like I said, जिस तरह आप कोई भी just because your neighbor is having a diabetes medicine, आप तो नहीं लेना शुरू कर देंगे ना. We know about these things. We know कि अगर कोई headache का medicine ले रहा है तो मैं तो नहीं लेना शुरू कर दूंगी ना. So similarly, you have to be mindful. Just because somebody is taking, you should not take it. If it is not needed, do not take it. If it is needed, then go to the checklist in the book, see what best you can do for yourself. And most important, do all the other things that we are talking about along with taking probiotics. Only taking probiotics is not going to, solve everything miraculously. So I think this is about probiotics, and we are going to upload the progress form just now after I finish talking. I'm going to upload the progress form. So guys, please go ahead, fill the progress form. We have finished week 6 and I really can't believe it. I was just telling my team right now that 6 weeks are gone and it doesn't just feel like 6 hafte khatam ho gaye. It has been such a great journey with you guys. So we are stepping on to week 7 tomorrow, and we have this expert lactation consultant, Dr. Zeenal, who is joining us. So please join me at 6 p.m. live. If you have any questions for her, find out from any new mother, their family, your friend, anybody, they have questions, then do let us know those questions in comments or maybe tomorrow when you're live. So fill up the progress form for sure, and we're just going to put that up in my bio, the link, and also in my story, and that link will stay live and active for the next 48 hours, which means Saturday 6 p.m. tak wo live rahega. Uske baad we are going to remove it. Okay, questions?
Can you tell diet for type 1 diabetic?
Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disorder. So if you follow the TBBD diet, it is definitely going to help you. But something like diabetes type 1 is something that I would rather take up on a one-on-one consultation. Having said that, if you follow the book, is it going to help you or not? It is going to help you. उसके साथ बहुत सारे plus minus भी होते हैं. Is the person who is type 1 diabetes overweight or obese or not? अगर overweight obese है तो then there's a different approach. नहीं है तो there's a different approach. But largely, if you do not want to get into the kind of consultation, then the book can and is going to help you. Would you be able to summarize weeks covered so far, the action points for us? Monica, so we have covered like 6 weeks, which means that I have done like at least 30 sessions till now. So to summarize all the 30 sessions is something that is going to be like completely impossible. But what I'll suggest is that you go on my profile page. On the top of the page, there is a highlight section. Highlights are circular circles of highlights you can see on the top of the page. You go on the highlights and you click on the 10 weeks project. There's a highlight, jiska title hai 10 weeks project. You click on that, you have all the videos out there, so you can just, whenever you want to, you can just go through those videos. Summarizing, again I will say the summary is there in the book. If you just want few points, then the entire book is there, the entire highlights of videos is there. To actually run through all the 30 videos is something that is going to be very, very difficult for me. There is one more thing, is that when you click on any one of my video, then you will see ऊपर में एक hashtag है 10 weeks of Yuktahar. If you click on that, the entire series of all the videos will come in front of you. So again, that's another way of seeing that. Okay, somebody is asking me, can you tell abs diet? Abs diet क्या होता है, sir? I don't know what is an abs diet. If you're just wanting to know कि कैसे अच्छे abs बना सकते हैं, then let me tell you कि abs basically दिखने लगता है when your body का fat percentage becomes bare minimum. Ideally, even actors don't keep a 6-pack abs throughout the year or throughout their lifetime. What they do is that जब उनका कोई शूट होना होता है या कोई cover magazine or movie shoot or whatever it is where they need to reveal their abs, they will work on that for a few months. When the shoot is over, they'll get back to their diet. बोलने का मतलब है to have a 6-pack abs all throughout your life is something not doable, because उसके लिए आपको एक बहुत bare minimum fat percentage पे आना पड़ता है, so that muscles of the abs they actually start self-displaying. And getting on a bare minimum fat percentage is not an easy job to do all throughout the life. I hope you agree on that. So I will say, if you're not an actor or a model or somebody who needs to reveal his abs 24/7, don't bother about that. Just eat well, eat healthy, and get on a average fat percentage. Of course, the fat percentage should not be too less. It should not be too more. ठीक ठाक होना चाहिए. And then you might not have a 6-pack abs displaying, but you will definitely look lean and nice. You're not going to look like somebody who has a pot belly.
Should we take prebiotic supplements also?
Yeah, so prebiotic supplements is also something which is a lot in the market nowadays. बहुत सारे prebiotics हैं, and मजे की बात ये है कि वही लोग आपको बोलते कि नहीं carbs मत खाओ, जबकि carbs में prebiotics हैं. तो वही लोग आपको सप्लीमेंट्स बेचते हैं, वही लोग आपको बोलते हैं कि नहीं कार्ब्स तो मत खाओ, जो किचन में है वो मत खाओ, राइस मत खाओ, ये मत खाओ, मिलेट्स भी मत खाओ, पोटैटो भी मत खाओ, फ्रूट्स भी मत खाओ, उससे भी शुगर बढ़ जाता है. सो दे विल टेल यू टू ईट, बेसिकली नॉट ईट एवरीथिंग दैट हैज प्रीबायोटिक्स, बट दे विल सेल यू द सप्लीमेंट. नाउ कटिंग द स्टोरी शॉर्ट, अभी तक थ्रू साइंटिफिक रिसर्च एक प्रॉपर सप्लीमेंट प्रीबायोटिक्स में एक प्रॉपर सप्लीमेंट का डोज क्या होना चाहिए वो अभी तक आया नहीं है. वी डू नॉट हैव अ सॉलिड डेटा राइट नाउ which can tell us that this much grams of prebiotics is something that can be taken or should be taken. The number two thing is if you overdo, because we don't have an ideal dose, so there are people who are either underdoing or overdoing. So अगर आप overdo करेंगे then know that it's fiber, right? Prebiotics are fibrous carbs. Anything which is fibrous is prebiotics. Obviously it's not just anything, the ones which bacteria can eat. So the fibrous material जो bacteria digest कर सकता है, आपके gut bacteria, उनको prebiotics बोलते हैं. But at the end they are mostly largely fiber, and if you overdo on it you are going to get bloating, cramps and all of those issues. So I will say that prebiotic supplements is something that you should not go ahead and consume at the moment at all.
Can we have curd at night?
Yes, you can have curd at night if you feel it suits you. A lot of people को ये curd at night suit ही नहीं करता है. A lot of people don't, उनको throat issues हो जाते हैं, बहुत issues है. So depending if it suits you, you can go ahead.
Can you repeat the name of the probiotic brand you just mentioned in your book?
Okay, so I mentioned this Danone's yogurt, Danone's Activia yogurt, and again, I've just become an endorser of Danone's Activia yogurt without they paying me up. So I'm not endorsing or anything, but as I said, it was a very great example for me to get my point across. So yes, it's Danone's Activia yogurt. It's available very well in the Western countries. I don't think it's available in India. Can you explain plant-based protein? I mean, what exactly do you want an explanation on, Ashwin? If you can elaborate. Plant-based protein is basically a protein जो dairy नहीं है, animal based नहीं है, तो meat नहीं है, dairy नहीं है, तो दूध and cow's milk, buffalo's milk, all of those are excluded. And plant-based protein is basically protein which is coming from plant sources. So again, if you're taking it from the natural way, आप दाल, राजमा, छोला खा रहे हैं, millets खा रहे हैं, उसमें भी protein होता है. So if you're doing it through those ways, amaranth is a very nice plant-based protein. So if you're doing it through ways, there is no problem. But if you are going ahead and taking them in the form of, say, a prebiotic supplement or in the form of any other thing, then you will have to check. A plant-based protein has become too much in news these days because people don't want to have whey powders after their workout. So अगर आप vegan हैं, you don't want to go for a whey based protein powder post workout, you may try the plant based protein. But then as I said, because of the extra fiber, उसमें बहुत bloating ये सब हो सकता है. So you'll have to try if it is suiting you.
What kind of foods help with anxiety?
So a lot of foods can help with anxiety, but as I said, the entire plan which is there, the TBBD plan, it is there. The name is the Belly and Brain Diet, right? The name of the book is the Belly and Brain Diet. TBBD का full form है the Belly and Brain Diet. So of course, everything that is there in the book is good for anxiety. It's good for the brain. So I cannot just go out and say कि for example, moringa is good for the brain or it's good for anxiety, because that is how people talk. I get where you're coming from, but I somehow don't advocate this thing, क्योंकि as I said yesterday also कि हर एक खाना अच्छा या बुरा हो सकता है depending on how you take it. उसका quality कैसा है, quantity कैसा है, किस समय पे आप ले रहे हैं. Any food can be good or bad depending on these things. And moreover, any kind of condition requires this three-phased approach where you are cleansing, because a lot of bad microbes and inflammation also cause anxiety. So phase 1 then becomes very important. Phase 2 becomes important because then you're feeding these microbes good bacteria, prebiotics, etc., which will then give, you know, these neurotransmitters and give you all those serotonin and good stuff to your brain, making you feel better. And of course, when it comes to these things, you have to take things in totality. Sirf food nahi hota hai, there is exercise also, which is actually, you know, called as the natural antidepressant by research. There is sleep issues because a lot of people who are anxious also fail to sleep well. So you have to look at things in totality. That's it. I think this is the last question.
Okay. Is overnight smoothie good for gut? Can nuts and fruits be eaten together?
Yes, nuts and fruits can be eaten together. That is completely fine. But nuts and fruits, as I said, to fruits hota hai. Fruits, I would want you to have from 10 AM to 6 PM. So nuts and fruits जो है, अगर आप एक साथ ले रहे हैं, then it has to come in the 10 AM to 6 PM category. That is the number one thing. Unless, of course, like we did a video on fruits, so you can go back and check the video. Of course, the exception is a post-workout. अगर आप morning 6-7 AM workout कर रहे हैं, then of course post-workout can be the fruit. So that's an exception. The other part of the question was what? Overnight smoothie. So overnight smoothie is something that I'm not a very big fan of. You know, overnight smoothie is, again, you know, most of these people, they make oats and stuff like with this overnight recipes. These are not traditional recipes. So I do not know, you know, are they really fermented? What kind of microbes they are carrying? What kind of benefits they'll bring to the table? These are new recipes. These are not age-old recipes of overnight smoothies. If you really want to have an overnight smoothie, I will say that have the rabdi, जिसका recipe book में है. Very, you know, thousands-year-old recipe है. Overnight उसमें बाजरा या जवार इनको लेके, millet को लेके आप उसमें overnight करके morning में, it's a smoothie only which comes. So वो smoothie के form में ही आता है rabdi. So you can go ahead and look for these recipes. Because if you're looking for something like oats and stuff, I will say bajra and jawar is our traditional millet. It's there. Oats में जो fiber है, उसी तरह का similar fiber you will get in these millets as well. So I will say that you can just go and check the rabdi recipe which is there in the book, and then you can think over it. Okay? Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. And I'm going to put up the progress form link. So please fill the progress form. Very, very important. कोई भी questions छूट गए हैं, रह गए हैं, तो please fill it up in the progress form, and you know I'm going to answer that for you. So do fill up your progress, not just questions, because questions do come in the comments as well. So please don't just put questions for me. I love to you know, read how you guys are doing, what are the different you know, benefits that you're observing, किस तरह का आपको benefits मिल रहा है, क्या क्या changes देखने मिल रहे हैं. You know, it's very encouraging for us also as a team to read your progress forms. So please share all the progress that you're making. Any minor progress also, चाहे वो skin में हो, sleep में हो, किसी भी तरह का छोटा भी progress हो, तो उसको जरूर progress form में लिखिए, because you know, as I said, I just love to read them. Thank you.